Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like the Cardinal front office, is still here no matter how bad we are. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hi, everyone.
Wow, great energy. And on this week's episode, we're going to talk about the recent roster moves. We're going to check in on Dakota Hudson and the outside edge of the Cardinals rotation. We're going to talk about Masyn Winn and how we arrange our infield rotation. And we're going to talk about the upcoming series against the Reds and the upcoming series against the Orioles. Thanks to Brando Pocoles from the Bird Scored for that wonderful opening joke. If you have an idea, no matter how good or bad you may think it is, let us know. We're happy to use it at the front of the episode. You can find us on all our social medias. So, Hambone, how you doing this week? How you feeling?
Oh, feeling strong, feeling great. Yeah. Feeling spry, young.
Yeah?
Well,
You're I'm glad you're feeling that way. Looks,
I might not present that way, but I do feel that way inside.
That's good.
If you cut the outer layer off, it looks a lot better.
That is that your? Are we getting little hints at your serial killer style? You cut out the outer layer.
That's my calling card. Oh my God! I peel my victim.
How many peeled bodies have you got there in your basement? I know you've been putting in new flooring. Is that to cover up something?
God, I guess it's got way too real, way too quick. I was about to say something about who was the clown in Chicago who stuffed all those bodies under his crawl space, but I didn't want to talk about that. So
Scottie
Pippen, famous serial killer. No, the clown. John Wayne Gacy.
Gacy. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. I did not expect to talk about John Wayne Gacy this early in the show.
Well, here's something fun. I saw this the other day, and it made me think of our dumb show.
Oh, have you seen this? Have you read about this?
Have you seen this? A female European honey buzzard bird was fitted with a satellite tracking system and traveled from Finland to South Africa in 42 days.
Wow.
Tiny
Did you just
bird.
Google bird before we get on the show?
No. I mean, sometimes, but not this time. This just showed up on my,
The algorithm fed this to you?
The algorithm fed this to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I just thought that was fascinating. Like Finland to South Africa, this tiny little bird.
Yeah, I could get there in like probably 15, 16 hours. So 42 days, pretty slow.
And that's flying in a big steel bird. This is a tiny little bird.
Yeah.
I think it's impressive.
That's great job, bird.
Yeah. I guess that's what I didn't really have an end goal from this fact, and I guess that's it. Props to European honey buzzard.
You know what? I like honey. Europe seems cool. Don't like buzzards.
I'll be going to Europe in a couple of weeks.
Don't dox yourself. Cool.
Yeah.
Look out for those honey buzzards.
Yeah, maybe I'll try to hitch a ride.
You need like 50 of them.
Probably more than that. I wonder how many it would
dumbass.
Just see me being carried by 50 birds across the entirety of Africa.
They look, they're kind of cool. They look like a hawk or something. I don't really know much about birds. I like to talk about them, but I don't really know much about them.
Well, this has been a super successful opening to the episode.
Goodbye, new listeners.
Summer's coming to an end. You got any plans for any big trips coming up for the fall or for winter?
I just got a honeymoon planning email from our travel agent, so very excited about that. We're trying to go to Peru in December.
Wow!
So looking forward to that. And you know what's really exciting is I have my second race this weekend. This one is going to be the 24-hour race, and I'm really looking forward to that. My last race stint. I think it's 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. So
Jesus.
it's going to be a wild weekend. Hopefully I survive.
What? So it's a 24-hour straight race. So your
Yeah.
race is going for 24 hours. So you're
Yeah.
driving 4 to 6 a.m., but you're also, I assume, driving in other parts of this.
Yeah. So it's noon Saturday to noon Sunday.
Hmm.
There's 3 other drivers that I'll be driving with, and we drive in 2-hour stints on a rotation.
That's incredible. Now I've seen your car. Now, is this a self-portrait, or would you describe it to the listeners?
Um, I guess you're saying that maybe because I'm wearing a purple shirt today, but yeah. So the car, I think I described what Lemons Racing is on an episode a little while back when we had our other race, but it's all very silly, and the theming is very important. And we had the brilliant idea to theme our car this year after Grimace, the McDonald's mascot, who is
Yeah.
essentially a monster.
Hmm.
So we wrapped it's a 1982 Nissan Z car. We wrapped it in sparkly purple car wrap. We painted a bloody, monstrous grimace on the hood and put some purple lights and done a bunch of other little fancy things to it. But yeah.
You should be eating a Big Mac the entire time you're driving too.
So we are making grimace shakes. I'm making cheeseburgers Friday night before the race.
Okay.
We're going all out. Yes, we're doing that. We have McDonald's Happy Meal boxes. We have toys that we're handing out. We made some of our own grimace racing team tattoos that we're going to apply to people.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going all out.
Is this for Grimace's birthday? It was his birthday, wasn't
That
it?
was inspired by Grimace's birthday, and then we
Okay.
just kind of took it to the nth degree.
My favorite part will be the cease and desist letter that's delivered to you halfway through the race. I bet
You
it'd
know,
be a
well,
badge of honor at this point to get a cease and desist in the
I
middle
would
of the
love that.
race.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
take him to court because ours is Grimace, not Grimace.
Mm,
It's
slightly
slightly different.
different.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly, last time you bribed the judges with a bottle of whiskey. Will this be a bribe via secret Big Mac sauce? Maybe some chicken McNuggets, something like that.
we bought. So McDonald's has a website where you can buy corporate gear as a consumer without having to log in or anything like that. So we bought a bunch of stuff that like a franchisee would
Yeah.
buy. And yes, we've made like little gift packages of McDonald's accoutrements to hand over to them. And we also, oh my God, we really get into this. We also 3D printed some versions of our car with Grimace on top of it in purple, and we've painted it to look like our vehicle with Grimace on it. So yeah, we got all kinds of things to hand out and to grease the judges and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of how many participants are in this race?
I think it just got announced. It's somewhere in the mid 70s. I don't know
Wow.
exactly the number, and I'm sure people will drop out before the race gets started
Yeah.
because these cars are all pieces of junk. Again, we're racing a 1982 Nissan with
Yeah.
who knows? We don't know how many miles are on it because somebody was futzing with the engine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see.
Is it like a time trial race? So whoever ends up with the best time at the end of it? Well, I guess that would make sense because it's 24 hours. So is it just literally who crosses the finish line first, or how do they declare
Most
a winner?
most laps.
Most laps.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That
you
makes
got to have your pit changes got to be, relatively quick. And then obviously the faster you are over the aggregate over the 24 hours, the more
Yeah.
laps you are bound to complete. And they have essentially like a sensor, like a tracker on your
Uh-huh.
car that clicks every time you do it, and it takes down your times and everything like that. I have a bunch of stats for stat nerds that I can
Mm,
share out if anyone
yeah.
is for some reason interested. But average time, average pit stop, tire changes, all that crap.
Well, assuming you survive, I'd be interested in hearing this next week. I wonder if
Yeah.
anyone ever tried to pull off like a like let's hack that system and alter the outcome so you win that way. Feels like
So
there's like a bad like a John C. Riley movie in this, you know?
yeah, I'm sure that has happened because they treat they're called transponders. They treat the transponders like they're gold, like they are
Yeah.
literally locked away. You go to a tech so that the people who are running the race can make sure that your car is safe and has fire suppression and all that, and then they
Yeah.
apply the transponder for you. and you do test laps to make sure that it is working properly before. Like, they take it so seriously. So I'm
Well,
sure
I imagine they
somebody's done
have to,
something. Yeah.
because this is like, it's a recipe for horrible accidents.
Yeah.
So they must try to take it as seriously as possible,
Yeah.
despite the layer of insanity. Like, I imagine that the insurance policy and the the undercurrent support staff are
Yeah.
probably not joking most of the time.
No. And
Yeah.
if you're wondering, my insurance and none of the driver's insurance is covered once you get on that tarmac. So
Yeah.
it's all out of pocket. And yeah, people are
The
pretty
the
respectful.
waiver book was like a
Oh
phone
yeah.
book thick.
You have to go to a class. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Well, it sounds fun. I look forward to hearing how it goes, because you placed well in the last one, right?
Yeah, 5th out of 72 last time. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm obviously looking forward to it. Pedal to the metal.
One last question, because you have such elaborate theming.
Yeah.
Do like West Side Story or Warriors style brawls ever break out between like the Grimace team and the Big Bird team and the Abraham Lincoln team, and like everyone just brings out their little
Like,
shivs and whatnot?
kinda like there
Yeah.
was, yes. So there was a Pulp Fiction team last race,
Uh-huh.
and they were walking around with their slick back Vincent Vega hair and briefcases
Real
and
dirt
handing
bags.
out milkshakes all
Yeah.
weekend. There was also a team that was Pac-Man themed, and every morning at 7 a.m. they had this like dubstep
Wacka
remix
wacka
of the
wacka wacka wacka.
Pac-Man. Yeah, and they would turn it on at 7 a.m. and blast the whole paddock where everybody was sleeping. So yeah, there's definitely some
Mhm.
playful gamesmanship and ribbing that happens in the paddock.
That would be funny to just like, all right, listen, we poisoned half the other teams. They're not going to be.
I think I said this already, but we're making Grimace shakes. We could put X-Lax in them or something, and
That's what I'm saying. I'm
yeah,
surprised no one has.
some of these
This
freaks
seems,
would probably just drive through that though and soil
yeah,
themselves.
I imagine that happens pretty consistently.
I told you
Besides,
about the puking incident, right?
I assume there's a general level of incontinence across all participants in this.
Wow.
All right, tell me the puking thing, and then we gotta
Okay,
do this.
really quick. There was one of the racers on our team. He was also a rookie driver. He's a young guy. Apparently, he gets motion sickness pretty quickly. Before his
What a
stint in,
bad hobby for
oh, I
that
know
problem.
he's not racing this time for obvious
Okay.
reasons.
Yeah.
But before he got in, he crammed down some lunch and he ate like 3 ham and cheese sandwiches. And he's driving around, and it's a racetrack. It's left and right turns. It's not an oval, so if you're not okay with movement, you're gonna feel a little bit sick. Anyways, he's racing for about 30 minutes. He calls in on the radio. Hey guys, I'm not feeling too good. I think I need to swap out. We're all sitting around eating Oreos or whatever. So I got to put my fire suit on, and you have to have your full safety gear to get near the
Yeah.
track because of fire and all that. So we're getting all ready. He calls back. He goes, guys, I'm really not feeling good. And I'm putting my helmet on and my fire suit, and I'm running over to the track. I run out to the hot pit where the cars come for
Hot pit.
refueling and whatever.
Yeah.
And this kid is leaning out of the car, spewing onto the hot pit all over the place. We go to get him. He jumps out of the car, doesn't open the door, just jumps through the window. We're making sure he's okay. To check out the car, and he had projectiled all over the front of the car and in the side where the passenger seat would normally be.
Ooh.
So the next guy's getting in, and this is all timed, right? We're trying to get 5th place out of 72 cars. So I reach in to strap this guy down, this guy named Adam, and I go, Adam, are you sure you don't want us to clean up anymore? He goes, no, go, go, go. I reach down to tighten his 5-point harness, and vomit goes in between my fingers and
Oh
starts spewing
no.
out as I'm tightening him down. And I go, Adam, are you sure? And he's like, go, 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 go. And he takes off and he races for 2 hours in a bucket full of,
Oh my God.
ham and cheese.
That's when I start puking, and then it just piles on. Man, what a lack of. I mean, I always respect someone going out and trying something new and trying something they might not be good at. But I also, if I there's a key part here. If I know that I have motion sickness, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
still determined to participate in a race. Okay, cool. Try
Yeah.
something new. maybe don't eat 3 ham and cheese sandwiches right before getting in the car. Like that's an easy
Yeah.
one to
Yeah.
solve for. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like wash it down with a milkshake and do a couple cartwheels and then get in the car and
Yeah. On day 2, he had a very early lunch and took some Dramamine and seemed to be okay. But
Jesus.
the damage was done.
And then you're driving on the thing they say don't do,
Yeah.
operate heavy machinery. I'm pretty sure race cars fit under that, even if it is a
Uh-huh.
shitty one from the 80s.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah.
well, hey, you know who's not having a bad time? Jordan Walker. How about this
Hey,
segue?
back to baseball. We
Yeah,
got
back to
there.
baseball. So we wanted to touch on Jordan Walker briefly because it's happening. And I
Yeah.
just wanted to say too, like, if you watched the game last night, what a cool moment it
Oh my
was
God. Yeah.
for Jordan Walker and his family. If you didn't happen to catch this, he's from the Atlanta area, or at least from Georgia, and it was the first game for them in Atlanta with him starting. And what they say, like 200 people in the stands.
200 tickets. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's been happening a lot recently is Jordan Walker had a fantastic game, 3 for 4, home run, double, just all together looking like a beast. In his first game at home with a lot of family, a lot of friends and
Yeah.
family. Cool that he has such a huge support network. You also have to imagine like a lot of people in that crowd, his family and otherwise, are just like, we're gonna make so much money. Yeah.
Yeah. I think obviously Jordan Walker's got a lot of career ahead of him, but I think
Yeah.
based on his first year rookie performance at age of 20, 21, he has
Yeah.
just looked so good. I think he is every day looking, 1% better out in the outfield. I think the most impressive thing that I saw was that home run last night. It was a kind of
Yeah.
low and outside slider. Obviously, it caught enough of the plate. But not only, you either want him to kind of spit on that, or if you can get your hands extended, which he has, or arms extended, which he has very long arms, get them extended and crush that ball dead center. That is a pitch we did not see him do that 3 or 4 months ago, and
Right.
he looked like a pro. It was an
Yeah.
absolute tank. It was a pretty nasty pitch, and he did in front of his grandma. What else do you need?
Yeah, he is now up to a 123 WRC plus as a 21-year-old in the big leagues.
Yeah,
It's pretty incredible. So we were saying all year, like, I think one of the real paths to the Cardinals regaining a competitive, the ability to compete at a for the playoffs and beyond really starts with Jordan Walker.
yes,
And I know, like, obviously pitching, right? But like the flip from Jordan Walker being the inevitable, in our belief, the inevitable
yeah,
flip from Jordan Walker being a average to below average MLB player to what we're seeing over the last week is so crucial to turning this team around. And when you start to dream on a roster of at least next year of a full formed Jordan Walker, Arenado, Goldschmidt. Gorman has obviously had his ups and downs, but he's coming up on 30 home runs. Like,
yeah.
you can see where this offense is going to be really, really good next year.
Well, let's say, and I think Gorman is a bit of a less talented ball player than Jordan. And that's not a slight by any means. It's just Jordan's ceiling is so high. But if you see Jordan Walker take the step that Gorman took from his first year to his second year and extrapolate that out, and same for Gorman, and then, Masyn Winn starts to get his feet wet, and then you have the wily old vets on the corners, you really start to see this offense and this team take shape for the next handful of years at the very least. And I
Yeah.
don't mean to forget Lars Nootbaar. I think he's a key part of that as well. But yeah, I think it's really, really easy to get excited. And I think it's really comes back to what I just said, though. It's Walker's getting better every day. And
Yeah.
it's noticeable. And for him, again, to put on that performance he put on last night in a, whatever he wants to say, a high pressure situation, his first time playing in his hometown, playing against the best team in baseball. And he puts on a show in the outfield at the plate and on the bases. Like, this kid is going to be a force to be reckoned with. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and I saw a good tweet thread on the Twitter. I think it was Ben Cerruti. I'm sorry if it's not. I should have written this down. But basically, at the start of Walker's time in the outfield, he was sometimes missing balls that had a 95% catch rate or catch
Yeah.
expectation. And he's made a handful of 60% catch expectation catches recently. And while you might say, like, okay, 60%, like, an average outfielder should catch that, it's more about that growth,
Right.
going from struggling at times for a 95% catch to successfully making 60% catches, all at the big league level, all in the last 3 months, essentially. Like, it just shows what kind of talent he is, and what time and reps will give you. He didn't play outfield until the middle end of last year. And I think probably long term, we're looking at probably he's taking Goldie's spot at first base when and if Goldie leaves the Cardinals. But, like, you can start to feel more and more confident in him at least being like a neutral right fielder.
Yeah.
If not a neutral with a plus arm, which is its own version of being a good outfielder,
That
So
helps a lot. That makes up for a lot of things, and his
yeah,
speed. Even though
yeah,
I think his speed is kind of underrated. But right now, as of today, when he's 21, he's still pretty quick.
yeah. Yeah, that'll be another thing that I'm really curious to see. A guy with his speed, he has stolen 6 bases. Um, what would be really fun is if we start to see him sort of land in that early Paul Goldschmidt career level too, where it's a combination of, like, Goldie was faster when he was younger, but he was never particularly fast.
Right.
But he was just the way that Cardinal fans love the, like, I stole a bunch of bases because I'm smarter than everyone.
Yes.
The Yachty approach, the Pujols approach, you can see that a little bit in Walker too. I think he has that same level of game intellect, and but he's got a really high sprint speed for his body type.
It's nuts.
Yeah. And so, like, I'd love to see him, lean into that a little bit more. But I also totally understand if the coaching staff is like, let's not worry about stolen
Let's
bases
not
right
jam a
now.
finger. Let's not roll an
Yeah.
ankle.
Let's
Yeah.
not. Yeah. Let's
No need.
just hit the ball hard.
Right.
Yeah. So, we've talked about it for a while now, even though the Cardinals have been out of it for a while, arguably the majority of the season. There's still a ton of fun watching these games, and there's still a lot to look for. And if you're like us, you're watching no matter what. I think the recent Jordan Walker explosion is really, like, what keeps me coming back. Like, it's getting to be must see TV. Like,
Oh yeah.
I'm going up just to watch. I might not be following the game directly, but I'm going to watch. I have the game on in a room. I'm going to watch Walker at bats. I'm going to watch Winn at bats. Not necessarily for the same reason, but I want to see that growth. Like, there's still plenty to enjoy with this team.
Oh, yeah, and I like, just to kind of hit on that. I'm watching what you just said. I want to see Nolan Gorman get to 30 home runs, especially after his game last night.
Yeah,
And I want to see Newt kind of get back into the fold, and want to see him have a strong finish to his season,
yeah,
and hopefully carry that over to next year. And actually, I guess I'll throw Tyler O'Neill in there too. Tyler O'Neill looks like he's finally healthy. He looks like he's playing full out. He stretched a single into a double last night, and had a good aggressive slide. He's looking like he's fully back.
yeah. I've got some Tyler O'Neill stats for you. This comes from at John Redbird on X or Twitter or whatever.
Wow, what a last name.
Uh, Tyler O'Neill, since returning from the IL on July 20th, 137 plate appearances. He's got a 252, 350, 504 slash line.
Yeah.
So that's an 854 OPS with a 133 WRC plus. That's 7 home runs, 9 doubles. And I think most importantly here, a 13% walk rate
Yeah.
and a
Wow.
20% strikeout rate.
Those are good numbers.
Those are very good numbers. And so, O'Neill, it's been a weird year. There's also been some questions about his, durability and his willingness to play through pain. And we've seen him get a lot more days off recently. And I don't know if this is a concerted effort at some sort of load management thing, if this is maybe what we're going to see from Tyler O'Neill. Like, what does it look like if we go into 2024 and the expectation is that Tyler O'Neill plays 120 games, but is never on the IL? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
we don't see that a lot, but like, if we're getting a 133 WRC plus and his defense, like that's great, and it just gives us a little bit more flexibility in the outfield too.
yeah, I think load management is a great idea. I think that the Cardinals could be better at that. And I think,
Yeah,
you look at what Nolan and Goldie are doing this year, and their load management, I don't think has been fantastic. But when you have a position player group like this, and I know people are probably thinking, well, the Cardinals offense hasn't been that great that year. It actually has been good. The sequencing has been bad. Other things have been bad. It looks worse when you're losing this much. But I think using your whole, 13 player position, 13 person position player group to its fullest extent is what teams like the Dodgers do, and the Cardinals should do more of. So
yeah,
I would, and if you're saying that's the bet, I'm taking that bet. That's great for me. I would love to have Tyler out there for 120, as long as he's healthy, and I'm here for it.
yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on a little bit, and we've had a bunch of roster moves recently. Speaking of load management, Ryan Helsley is back,
Yeah,
which so good. I mean, I'm hopeful that it's not I'm knocking on wood a million times here. Like, did they just kick the can down the road a little bit, or is he actually just completely avoided a real problem and he's totally healthy now and he's back? I guess only time will tell. But he's back, and he's looked really, really good. And
yeah.
I've talked on a recent episode on just what he does for the bullpen and the starting rotation and just the downstream effects of having an elite reliever is, and the with Jojo Romero now on the IL, which is a huge bummer. If you had any hope in the Cardinals remaining, like, still playing competitive games through the rest of the season, like having Ryan Helsley
Just
is a
not
huge
coming
step.
together.
Yeah, the game,
um,
where I think it was Saturday night, where Verhagen came in and blew it against the Pirates.
yeah.
I was watching it with my family, and Verhagen came in 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. I said, I guess they don't want to win this game. And then sure enough, 2-run bomb,
Yeah.
game over. But I mean, Marmol was in a tough spot. Everybody was basically unavailable, and that was his only other option was leave John King in, which he could have, but you never know how those things will play
It
out.
comes back to, you make me think of what we've been talking about all year. It can't be Ali Marmol's fault if everybody he calls from the bullpen isn't that
It's
good.
bad.
It makes every manager, you could have a
Yeah.
futuristic AI looking at everything. And if every name you call is shit, you're going to get a shit result.
Yeah.
I to that point though, I think Cardinals fans will be happy to hear this is Drew Verhagen's final month as a Cardinal, assuming that he does not get re-upped.
We were
And
surprised he was back this year, and it's gone about as expected.
I think what do you call it? They got obsessed with his spin, his
Right.
fastball spin. They found this guy over. Was he in Korea or Japan? Can't remember off the top of my head, but they got obsessed with some of his like pitch metrics, pitch shaping, and I don't
Hmm.
blame them for trying that and trying to make it work. And I will even give them a little bit of a break in that I thought it would work too. You look at the guy, he looks the part. The pitches come out of his hand, they look like it, but people just hit him. Um,
Yeah.
I don't like. It's just one of those things. It's what's the difference between Verhagen and Miles Michaelis? It's kind of hard to tell you, other that one can pitch and one can't.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same, but it reminds me of like when Joe Kelly was with the Cardinals.
Right.
It didn't make any sense. He throws 101. Everything looks like he should be elite, but he just keeps giving up home runs.
You see
Um,
101 with movement, and the guy's striking out 6 per 9. And then you see Ryan Helsley that's got a pretty similar package, and he's the best or second best reliever in baseball. Yeah, and there's just and it's delivery. It's there. I think there's a little bit of just X factor. There's deception, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it
yeah.
just isn't working for Verhagen. Those pitches look like meatballs coming out of Verhagen. Swedish meatballs. Is he Swedish? Verhagen?
Uh, sure sounds like it. Definitely like Nordic.
Yeah. So Swedish
Yeah.
meatballs.
Bork, bork, bork. Definitely big old Swedish meatballs coming out of those hands. Jesus. Jose Fairman is back with the Memphis Redbirds.
The Cardinals really can't decide who they like more. Is it Fairman or is it Fermin?
Is it Fermin? We should know this.
We should know
I
this.
should
I
know
believe
this.
it's Fermin, and I think that you're dumb.
Yeah.
But in a corresponding move, our dear friend, friend of the pod,
No.
maybe it's Fermin, one of my best friends in life and in baseball. Taylor Motter has been DFA'd again. Jose Fermin takes his spot. What are we doing? Why even make this move?
Why bother? Yeah.
I don't even
know.
care.
It's must be some sort of vendetta at this point.
But he seems like a clubhouse guy.
He's like the whipping boy of the season. You know what I mean?
He really is.
Yeah. I was trying to find it real quick, but I'm not going to just sit here Googling while we're on the episode. But like, what is the record for the most times being DFA'd by a single team?
Yeah.
Because I know people have been DFA'd more than 3 times in a regular season, but by the same team, it's got to be close.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense for it to have happened this many times.
If you know the answer, hit us up at Talk About Birds on Twitter. But yeah, it's got to be getting close. And I don't know, at least he's been able to cash a handful of big league paychecks this year. So hopefully that's going okay for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure for him, like, this has been kind of his life, you know. He's been a journeyman. You know, that's just kind of what they do. Being DFA'd is generally the way you are no longer with a team. I don't know how many times he's been DFA'd in his life, but probably multiple times. But I'm sure with this third one, it's like, you got to be kidding me. There's 3 weeks left in the season. Like, do I really need to be DFA'd right now?
And he's got like special, like, infield coach or infield coordinator or special instructor written all over him, and maybe he'll stick with the Cardinals. You never know. But yeah, maybe big league life just isn't for Taylor Motter. And I wouldn't even say hasn't been great, but he's been kind of unremarkable, which is, I guess, the problem.
Yeah. Well, good luck to him. Yeah, maybe he'll stick with the Cardinals. We'll see. More exciting, Matt Liberatore is back.
Yeah.
Now they are deploying him out of the bullpen, likely for the remainder of the season. I'm assuming this is more out of response to just injury management and just getting like ramped back up to the rotation. There's not that much time left. It is a bit of a bummer. We saw that huge start against the Rays. Felt like things were coming together, and then it's collapsed again. It's been kind of the Liberatore story. I have to imagine at this point he is not an assumed part of the 2024 rotation. We'll see what the offseason brings and the fabled 3 pitchers the Cardinals are going to go get. But I'm assuming he's like with the surgence of Zach Thompson. I doubt he's expected to start in the rotation unless spring training really goes crazy.
Yeah, we're kind of at the point. I'm not saying the book's done on Matty Libs, but we're kind of at the point now where he just has not been consistent enough. Obviously, the guy can strike people out and can be an effective major league pitcher, but he just can't do it on every 5-day basis. And maybe I think what you said is probably right on. A little bit of load and injury management, and maybe they're trying to get him a little bit of a confidence boost, similar to what happened to Steven Matz before his 18th Cardinal injury with the lat. And hey, why don't you come out and air it out for an inning or two, strike some guys out, realize that your stuff plays up here, and maybe down the line we'll talk about being in the rotation again. But I think he's still an effective pitcher. They just got to find the right hole for him to fit in. But yeah.
And I mean, the vast majority of the best relievers in baseball, which is a very valuable thing to have, came from people who were highly touted starting prospects and just couldn't put it together at the major league level. Adbert Alzolay for the new Cubs closer who's doing really well. He's had a pretty similar career path. Was at one point one of their top left-handed pitching prospects, and here he is today. So it happens, and it would be a bummer if he doesn't end up being a legit big league starter. Like I still believe that he could be, but it doesn't mean he doesn't have any value at all to the team.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah.
On the other side of relievers and their sort of paths, we've got Vilking Rodriguez.
Yes.
He's pitching in the minors, 2 appearances, 4 strikeouts, and a hit. Not the season we were hoping for him, but
No.
we still got him. And so, I guess we're just hoping for a strong end of the season and try it again in 2024.
Yeah, we've talked about this a couple of times over the last month, but one does wonder if Ryan Helsley's helpful, if Wilking Rodriguez doesn't have his shoulder issue, Guillermo Zuniga is healthy, and you got those 3 guys supplementing your bullpen all year, all of them throwing 60 some odd innings. What does this team look like?
Yeah, I think it's significantly different.
Yeah, and we'll never know. But the cool thing about Wilking is, if you remember, and this is crazy because he has not pitched at all this year, he's a Rule 5 draft pick. So as soon as he is healthy, he has to come up to the Cardinals and be in the bullpen in some form or fashion. So we will see him in a Cardinals uniform very soon. I'm sure they'll probably give him another appearance or 2, and then he'll come up, and we'll get to see kind of what the Cardinals have for next year. I guess the good news is he will be a Cardinal next year because of this weird injury Rule 5 situation that they've kind of threaded the needle on. But yeah, it should be cool. I'm excited to see him. Another A-tier beard, A-tier fastball. I'm excited to see him back with the Cards.
Those are 2 critical elements to a successful major league starter or reliever.
100%. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the rotation. Dakota Hudson.
Yeah.
What do you feel? How are you feeling about old Dak Hud?
I don't know. Now? It's such and obviously it makes sense to use him the way the Cardinals are using him right now, I think, because he's there. Right. He's like, why
have innings?
Right. Yeah. So he has started 7 games for the Cardinals and has pitched fairly well. At least the results have been good. And I say that because if you look at his underlying metrics, good.
I'm looking at it now. Highest barrel percentage of his career, highest exit velocity of his career. There's one of the highest expected slugging percentage of his career. Highest expected WOBA of his career, highest walk rate, or lowest. No, that one's okay. But one of the worst K percentages in the league, and his expected ERA is a 5.08.
Yeah. So he's like kind of a big step down from Miles Michaelis, right? But he's right now he's rocking a 4.08 ERA. He's averaging 5.6 innings per start, and he has a 52% ground ball rate, which puts him in the same territory as Sandy Alcantara. Sandy Alcantara obviously not having a Cy Young year, but still I was trying to illustrate the guy's getting people out on the ground at a very high level. I think he's top 30 in baseball, if I remember correctly. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because he's not great. But the Cardinals still have him under he'll be arbitration eligible the next 2 years. So the Cardinals have first right of refusal to have Dakota Hudson's services for the next 2 years. He'll be a multi-million-dollar player either in AAA or in the bullpen or swingman or whatever. He'll have a couple more starts before the season is over. And I guess I want to kind of hand to you, like, what do we do with Dak Hud? Is he a quad A player? Do we cut him? Do we send him off to the A's? What happens?
Yeah, I have zero faith in him as a big league starter in the long run, man. So I think he's doing the Lord's work right now. He's putting in the time, and
he is,
and he's serving a valuable purpose. But if the Cardinals truly enter into 2024 with Dakota Hudson as a projected contributor to the starting rotation, even as like the 6th man, I think that we are headed into a bad spot again in 2024. He needs to be at best you're like eighth or ninth man out of the in the rotation.
So
And
I think I agree with you, but does that mean so? If the Cardinals have like a pecking order of their starting pitching, probably Graceffo, maybe even Jerpy, maybe even Tink Hence are above him. But obviously, his big league clock has already started, so it's whether they use him or not doesn't really matter. Do you run Dakota Hudson is he your number 3 in your AAA rotation and kind of your emergency, or do you try to just flip him to the Guardians or some team that might try to fix him? And just cut
yeah,
your ties with Dakota Hudson because you
I
have
mean,
control.
yeah, but they have control of a lot of guys. They've got
Mm-hmm.
control of hundreds of guys, right?
Hundreds
So,
guys falling out of their ears.
yep. And so control only matters if they're an effective big league
Sure.
player. So I don't know. I mean, the problem is like what I think you're illustrating is he's kind of in no man's land.
Exactly. Yeah.
We know. I guess there is value in someone who's done it at the big league level. At least people always say that. Having a person who's familiar with like
He
I
knows where
guess
the
where the
bathroom is.
bathrooms
Hey!
We made the same joke.
Wow.
Yikes.
This
All
show
right.
sucks.
Yeah, the show super sucks. So I guess if you can get something for him, sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they don't like paying a minor league player what you have to pay a guy who's had this amount of MLB service time. Like if the only way I see him being useful in 2024 is if they find themselves in the exact same position that they're in today.
Yeah.
And at that point, like we'll surely have another guy that can just throw innings at the major league level. And I know I'm being pretty down on old Dak Hud here, but like I just don't see it, and I don't see him getting better, and he's getting by on smoke and mirrors right now, and that's cool. But if you want to be a competitive major league team, he can't be in the rotation.
Yeah.
Without some sort of fundamental switch in his approach and his underlying metrics. Like the ground ball rate's all well and fine, but it's only going to last for so long before he just starts getting lit up. And he really hasn't had a good season. It's been 2 years now of him being not great, and it's been quite a while since he's had any sort of like better peripherals. And totally people can change and can come back and have good seasons again. I'm just not seeing it out of our boy Dak Hud.
Yeah. I think you're mostly right. And speaking of ground ball percentage, I also wanted to talk about Andre Palante, who is outpacing baseball in ground ball percentage right now. It is absolutely insane. He has a 78.9, let's just say 79% ground ball rate, which is
It's
far and
wild.
away first place in baseball. Second place is Yohan Duran, who has almost 65%. And
And
I'm
he's
sure
elite.
guy throws 100-mile-an-hour breaking ball and just absolutely nasty. Now, the other thing with Andre Palante is that he's rocking a 5.5 ERA right now. His underlying metrics are a little bit better than that. He's striking out less than, right at 6/9. The percentages aren't looking good. What do you do with Andre Palante? Where does he fit into this team? Obviously, he has one outlying skill that has to be valuable to some degree. Or I guess I'll even answer like, okay, you're getting almost 80% of ground balls, right? That's elite, elite, elite. But if people are crushing those ground balls, even if they're on the ground, and if they're hitting them past Nolan and Tommy and everyone,
Yeah.
is that a good pitcher? Is that somebody who should be on the big league roster? I really don't even know how I feel about this.
Yeah, I'm torn on it. And because we've seen it, there's been several games this year where it's the Cardinals have needed a double play. They bring in Palante, he gets the ground ball, but it just still goes right through, and or it's hit to the side and it's only one out, and so like the Cardinals have always seemed to like to have one of these guys, right?
Yeah.
Matt Bowman comes to mind. Like who's our like Seth Elledge, I think, was another one. Like there's been a handful of these guys.
Seth Maness.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. Seth Maness, like they're the like, it's the fireman, but not going to come in and burn everyone, but
Right.
rather get them to just hit soft contact. And it's not sustainable over multiple innings, but that one guy, we can probably get a ground ball. And I do see the value in it, but it is kind of high risk, high reward. Like an 80%, if you could truly expect an 80% chance at a ground ball, 100% of at bats, like that is incredibly valuable. But we
Right.
also know uh, numbers from relievers are incredibly
Yeah.
variance heavy. And that the odds of him sustaining an 80% or roughly 80% ground ball rate, I think is pretty low too. So we'll probably see some swing back in the other direction, and he's going to have like a 20% ground ball rate for a month and just give up a billion home runs.
It's
So
so, this has been so he, and I think you're right. I should note it's 56 and 2/3 innings that he's done this over. So obviously not a huge sample size.
it's
Um,
not small.
no.
That's a good sample size for a reliever, but in the broader picture, like it's super common for a reliever to have one outlier result for 50 to 60
Yeah.
innings, and then it never happened like that again. It's very common.
What else is crazy is so yeah, he's got that almost 80% ground ball rate, but his home run to fly ball percentage right now is 25. Now, obviously,
Mm,
he's not giving up a lot of balls in the air because of that ground ball rate, but kind of another kind of
yeah,
outliery number. Like, are you telling me a quarter of the time people do get in the air, it's gone? Well,
it's a
what is happening?
bomb.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty emblematic of the season, right? Is like all of our results have been ridiculous. They're
yeah,
all they're
right,
all extremes, where everything is either a home run or a double play, or
right.
we're giving up 9 runs in a game, or Liberatore's going eight and a third.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah, it's I guess ultimately what you generally want out of your bullpen is consistency, right? Like, and so how to use your pieces
Ugh.
and when to use them, and you can have a reasonable over a long enough expanse. You can have a reasonable expectation of what's going to happen when that player's on the mound, and so that sort of like cherry bomb thing of Polante, where it's like, yeah, you're probably going to get a ground ball, but if not, look out.
Yeah.
Probably not very long term successful in the bullpen.
Yeah.
So
And
get him out,
yeah.
get Dak Cut out. Like, I think these are the guys that are hopefully pushed out by the acquisition of higher level talent.
Well, and we were just talking like maybe even pushed out by Guillermo Zuniga, maybe pushed
Right.
out by Vilking Rodriguez and Ryan Helsley coming back. We need more swing and miss, and these guys just aren't that.
Yeah.
Speaking of swing and miss, I just wanted to hit on Zach Thompson again, really quick.
Yep.
He's been awesome. After putting up an 8.65 ERA over 34 innings in AAA when they were yo-yoing him back and forth, he rejoined the club. He's started 5 games with a 3.48 XIP XFIP, a 26% K rate, and a 5.7% walk rate.
Yeah.
He's been great. And I do think, we're kind of joking about Dakota Hudson and his role in the starting rotation next year. I do think Zach Thompson is starting to get to the point where he might seriously be considered for a fifth or sixth starter spot next year.
Yeah.
Whose job he's taking and what that looks like, I don't know. But he's pitching well enough and he's looking good, and that fastball plays. He's super talented.
Yeah, and he's had a reasonable pedigree multiple times, ending on the being on the top 100 prospect list. Like, he's never been considered a super high end starter, but was multiple times expected to be a big league starter.
Yeah.
And we rehash over and over his use over the years and how it's probably not been conducive to standard growth. But we were saying we were expecting in this back half of the season that at least one of these guys would establish themselves as a real option for 2024. I was expecting Liberatore, but it looks like it might be Thompson, and that's cool too. It's a different type of skill set, but I think it plays, and we need it. And yeah, fifth man, sixth man, fourth man. I don't know. This off season is going to be interesting, but I'd say like he's earning that spot. Where that spot lies, we'll find out.
Yeah. Fully agree.
Cool. Well, we've got more to talk about, but before we do, Ben, we need to remind everyone to join the revolution.
God.
Okay. We're carrying it to the next episode. If you enjoy the show and want to support the time and effort we put into creating it, consider joining our patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. It's the revolution. It's the most meaningful thing you could do with your entire life.
Oh my
is
God.
join our Discord.
Hey, Nate, this revolution will not be televised. It will be on a podcast.
It'll be on a podcast app. Yep. Yeah, there's been a lot of important moments over your lives and over the, expanse of human history.
Maybe not though. Maybe not for some of the people listening.
None more important than this. That's right. We're changing the game.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. We do mean it, though. We really appreciate those who have spent the time and money to support the show. It means a lot, and we would appreciate others considering it. If you want to help us in another way, you can consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really does help others learn the good word about our revolution.
Wow.
Ben, where can people find us otherwise online?
Just go out there and evangelize. Stand on the street corner. Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at Talk About Birds. You can follow us on Instagram at Talking About Birds. We are on Spotify. Listen to us on Spotify if you prefer that. We have a TikTok. You can see our shiny, greasy faces on TikTok.
Grimace looking son of a
bitch. Yeah, wow. You'll see my purple shirt. And you can email us questions, thoughts, criticisms, ads. You could try selling us something at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. You can find all of that information and more at talkingaboutbirds.com. Once again, that's talkingaboutbirds.com.
All right. Well, let's see. What do we have next to talk about, Hambone? Baseball. So we spent most of this episode talking about the pitching staff. So we thought we'd check in on the infield rotation. So Masyn Winn, I think I appreciate the fact that he is locked in at the shortstop position. This is exactly the right thing for them to be doing. Results be damned. If you truly believe he's the future shortstop, then this is the time for him to get the reps. It really couldn't be better, frankly, than what's happening right now, is giving him reps and letting him learn at the big league level. So we've got him locked in at shortstop. Now, of course, there will be.
To interrupt you really quick, I was listening to Eric Longenhagen, the kind of prospect expert at Fangraphs, talk about Masyn Winn the other day. And you know who he comped him to, Nate?
Who's that?
Rafael Furcal.
There you go.
Who we've been talking about.
We've been saying the same thing. Yeah.
And I do think, is Rafael Furcal going to be here this year or next? Maybe not. But I think that the more we watch him and the more we see him take at bats and he'll start lifting the ball a little bit more, the more that skill set is going to come out. And we're going to look up, I think, maybe even next year, maybe the year after, we'll have a 3, 4, 5 win player at shortstop for the foreseeable future. And I just love watching him play. He is such like a heads down, gritty, gutty guy. I really like watching him play.
Yeah. I also love the fact that Jordan Walker's turnaround and explosion is seemingly tied to the exact day that Masyn Winn was called up. So
maybe loosen him up a little bit to have a friend, who knows?
Yeah, there is something about that comfort, but yeah, it's exactly the right call. So there will be reps at shortstop for a backup and whatnot. But for the most part, I think we're considering shortstop locked up. So there's really just second base. Now we've seen again, Tommy Edman starting in center field. He had a couple great plays in the game last night. We've seen some flashes of expertise in center field.
Yeah.
I think Tommy Edman has, we've talked about Tommy Edman a lot, but do you think, is he a outfielder going forward, or is he the second baseman?
I think that's my question, is because of course you have Gorman and Donnie will be back. Hopefully at some point, maybe not this year. It's not looking.
Yeah, I don't
awesome
think this year. Yeah.
But yeah, where does Tommy Edman go? And I don't love him being honestly, I don't know if he should even be playing every day at this point. Obviously, he's gifted defensively, and he seems to get better and better at outfield every day. He's obviously a next level shortstop and second baseman. I think that's where his true value is. I just don't know where his true value for the Cardinals is right now. And I'm also curious of if the Tyler O'Neill experiment in center field is just completely gone out, and
Yeah.
why that was such a talk in the offseason. It was a talk of the first month or so, and we just have not seen that since. We've seen Newt start in center, other people start in center, and obviously Tommy. I just don't know if that is the
Yeah.
best way to use his skill set.
My guess for Tyler is that this is a continued extension of the load management. Center field is a more physically demanding position. You're laying out a lot more, running into walls more. So could just be that. They're just like, well, he probably is the best or near best center fielder on the team. But if it means he's going to miss half the season, then it's just not worth it. So that's my guess on that, at least for the remainder of this season. Who knows what next year looks like?
Sure.
I do think so Tommy Edman, I'm pulling up his numbers here. Here's from 2019 on, I'm reading his WRC plus. 124 in his rookie year across 350 plate appearances. And then 90, 89, 107 last year, and 97 this year.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, what you're looking at is a league average at best hitter with elite to or near elite defense at multiple positions.
Right.
Now that is a valuable major league player, right? That's what drove his 6 WAR last year, right? But if you're a team that is hoping for some offensive productions from any of those positions, Tommy Edman is not the solution. And when you've got guys like Donovan or Gorman, who are going to give you a slight reduction in defense, but a pretty significant improvement on offense, you do start to wonder, is Tommy Edman actually a starter, or is he like the league best super utility player?
Right. And if that's the case, are you choosing him over Alec Burleson? Are you choosing him over some of these other guys on the periphery of the roster? And I think that's something the Cardinals need to figure out. And not to mention, Carlson more and more looking like he's not coming back this year either. But is he the center field option in 24? Would you, coming into spring training, are you saying it's his job to lose? Is it Tommy's job to lose? There's just kind of like too many cooks in the outfield infield kitchen.
Well, it's just, I mean, this is why we were really hoping for a big trade at the deadline to send 1 to 3 of these guys somewhere, so this clears up a little bit.
Right.
But I think if we went into 2024 with everyone healthy and no major moves from the major league level right now, you would have O'Neill in left, Newt in center, Jordan Walker in right, Brendan Donovan at second, and Winn at short, and Gorman at DH.
Yeah.
I think that would probably be your ideal setup. And then but with that, you're also knowing that Tyler O'Neill's only playing 120, like we talked about before.
Right.
So Edman is probably filling in there and filling in at second for Donovan and filling in at short for Winn. And that's probably your best setup, then I don't know, then Burleson is maybe your 5th outfielder / DH from the left side.
First baseman. Yeah.
/ first baseman. And then you just roll with that. I mean, it's a pretty good team, and then maybe Palacios is there as your 6th outfielder, defensive special. I don't know.
The Cardinals need to make a trade.
Yeah, it's too many good players.
It is.
Load up for a good starter.
All right.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. Let's talk about the upcoming series.
Yeah.
We've got the Cardinals go to Cincinnati for 3. Notably, might see ourselves some Harrison Bader. That'll be fun.
Will it?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't like to see him being on the Reds, of
No,
course.
kind of
But
bums me out seeing him on the Reds. It's much
yeah,
easier to a pill to swallow when he was on the Yankees. Him being in
yeah.
the division and wearing red and white, I don't like it.
Well, the Reds need some wins.
They do.
Um, they are 5 games back now out of the division, and they're running out of time. As you've been predicting all season, basically, the Cubs have been on a bit of a run. They've surpassed the Reds. They're clearly in second place. They are only 2 games back of the Brewers. So the Reds must be looking at this 3-game series against the Cardinals at home as an opportunity to stack a few wins. But they've had injury problems. Their rotation has struggled. Like, these are winnable games. You never know at the bandbox. I know we want to lose because we want a good draft pick, but I will always find joy in beating the Reds,
Oh,
and I will particularly find joy in hopefully beating the Reds enough where it really ends their playoff hopes. So,
yeah.
you know,
Being the postseason spoiler for the Reds is really all we got going right now here at the end of
yeah.
the season.
Yeah,
And
now
that
we're
sounds like a
4 games
blast.
back of the Pirates too. Like, we got nothing left. But if we could spoil the Reds, and do we have any games left against the Cubs? Can we spoil the Cubs too? Like,
Yeah,
I
there
don't
are
want
some
the
games
Brewers
coming
to
up.
win,
Yeah.
but I will take the Brewers making the playoffs over the Reds and the Cubs. for for
Yeah.
whatever reason, I can't get over the rivalry from like 2012 with the Reds, even though it hasn't been a relevant rivalry for like a decade now.
I
I still like Johnny Cueto. He kicked Jason LaRue, and I will never forgive them.
I fully agree with you, and I think not only so to be kind of Machiavellian and a bit of a NL Central basher or whatever. Like I think the Cubs are the best team in the Central. I think that the Reds, as I've said all season, don't have enough pitching. They're going to fall away, and if the Cardinals can help that, that would be even more fun. And if I'm looking at the Brewers roster, whatever team that they face in the playoffs, they are going to be the underdog. And I think that they're
Yeah,
going to get their ass handed to them. I just don't like the team. And they haven't got performances out of anybody that would really make me change my mind. They're kind of having down years across the board. Rowdy Tellez, Willie Adames, Tyrone Taylor, Jesse Winker, Owen Miller's not hitting, Caratini's not hitting. Uh, Bryce Terang really hasn't done much of anything since coming up, and their pitching is fine. Corbin Burns has lost a huge step. Freddie Peralta isn't the guy that I thought he would be this year. Um, so
yeah.
I
If
don't know.
you
I kind of like the idea of them winning out the Central and then getting their bounced out by a wild card team in the first round.
Yeah. Well, you should look at what Freddie Peralta has been doing over his last month or two. He's actually been pretty incredible, but everything else I agree with. If you look at their lineup that they fielded today in a game that you would assume they are trying to win, they're in win now mode. Only one player in the starting lineup has an OPS over 800, and that is William Contreras, their catcher at an
Yeah.
814. So the highest OPS in the starting lineup was an 814. And then they have, let's see, 3 guys under 600. So
Yeah.
it's a bad lineup. It is what it is. They are the inversion of the Cardinals. If you could mash the Brewers and the Cardinals together, it'd be a super team. Which would probably be any 2 major league teams, but still they have like opposite
Yeah.
skill sets.
They might be as good as the Phillies if you combine the rosters.
Stupid Phillies.
Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber. After the series against the Reds, we go to Baltimore.
Yeah, very excited for this series. It's a real
Yeah,
baseball team.
we're gonna do we're probably gonna check in next week with talking about other birds. So we'll dig in a little bit on the Orioles and the Blue Jays. But we'll see them, and we'll see Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty not doing well for the Orioles. He had that really good first start. Everyone was very hyped, and it's starting to collapse a little bit. And then, I don't know if you look at Baltimore social media, people are starting to get mad about his anger, and you're just like, it's like, yes, other people are experiencing the Jack Flaherty experience, even though we were big fans. There is a reality to the type of pitching that he brings, and I wanted him to go over there and crush. I
Yeah.
really like the Orioles, and I wanted Jack Flaherty to do well, but he's not been. But
No.
pretty much everything else for the Orioles is doing really, really well. Did you see they promoted Haunted Doll Jackson Holliday to AAA?
I did see that. And I'm
Yeah.
very curious if he is going to get the call all the way up this year. And I think it's feeling more and more likely, which would be super duper exciting. Have him. The thing is, I don't even know where you play him. They have so many good
Yeah.
players. They're absolutely stacked. Gunnar Henderson's about to win the Rookie of the Year, and he's just come on recently. Maybe you put him at second or short. They'll figure something out.
Yeah. He was in high school last year, and now he's in AAA.
Kid's amazing.
Yeah.
So very excited to see that. And I think it's going to happen. Grayson Rodriguez has kind of turned his season around in the past month and a half. He's looking like a top of the rotation guy. That's been a huge boon for them. But yeah, I'm kind of just excited to sit back and I expect them to. They have that fiery bullpen and that maybe the best offense in baseball, one of the best offenses in baseball. And I'm kind of just excited to watch that. And, hopefully the Cardinals don't embarrass themselves, but
Yeah.
they're a great team. They're an exciting team. They're so young and athletic. And then they have like 6 guys in the bullpen that can strike you out, 15K per 9 or whatever. So
Yeah.
looking
They
forward to all
lost,
that.
they lost best closer in baseball, Felix Bautista.
Yeah.
So he might be, it's still unclear yet. But what happened. But that's a big loss. But like you said, they got like 8 guys behind him. Yenier Cano, he's been incredible. So he just slots right in.
I was watching the Baltimore Angels game the other night, and Shintaro Fujinami came out and struck out the side base or dominated the side of the Angels, basically just pumping fastballs. And that guy, he's had a weird season. They acquired him at the halfway point, and he's coming out and being amazing. So they're just pulling all the right levers.
There was a story going around recently that Jackson Holliday had to I forget what it was. He was trying to rent a car or something.
He was trying to get into the team hotel.
Team hotel, yeah.
Yes.
And he had to prove his age.
Yes. Nobody knew who he was. They thought he was like a minor.
Yeah. I'm going to stop. Yeah. I'll stop, hammering on this point because, he's obviously an incredible athlete, but it is funny. He just looks so young. It's just all these guys like Jordan Walker sometimes looks like a 50-year-old man, and then you've got Jackson Holliday. You just don't normally see these uber athletes still looking so young when they
I think Jordan Walker being 6'6", 250 and having a full beard goes a long way.
For sure. He's got those sad eyes too.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
He feels bad for all the baseballs he's murdered.
Yeah, probably. All right, let's check in on some league news. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so I'll try to run through this. We got quite a bit of league news. So the waiver wire madness has settled down. The Guardians collected half of the group. They became the middle or the Midwest Angels out of nowhere. They're collecting players like Pokemon. And I don't think we need to talk about the efficacy of this has happened. This is kind of old news at this point. Of what happened, but I'm more curious of your thoughts on this system, how it was used, and I guess if MLB needs to make adjustments to this process going forward. Do you see this as a problem going forward now that it's kind of been exposed by the Angels as a kind of I kind of look at it as like Artie Moreno taking his ball and going home or flipping the chessboard when he's got a check on his player. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that this was a weird version of it where most of the players that the Angels let go had some flaws, had some issues, and not necessarily everyone was going to be into them. But if imagine a team doing this with actual competitive players that they weren't able to trade, and they're just I want to save $1 million over the last month. I'm going to put them all on waivers and just create some chaos, so I don't know. You'd like to think that teams would be better than that, but maybe. So it does make me think maybe there's something you need to do from preventing a team from just putting all of their upcoming free agents on the waiver wire,
Right.
because somebody eventually will just completely take advantage of it if you don't think the Angels already just did. And then on the Guardians being able to claim like everyone, which is funny.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anyone saw that coming. It would make sense to have some sort of limitation, like some sort of rotation on how, who you can claim. If you take the top guy on the list, everyone else gets a chance and they have to go back around before you can get the next guy or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of just being able to be like scoop, and taking them all.
That's what I think is. I think that if you waiver claim Lucas Giolito, you are now number 30 in the waiver order. And it kind of goes around like that. Each team they get bumped back behind. And you get the first chance, but I think the team being able to collect all the players and just have to pay the money, I don't know, it's kind of or I guess it's, so there's like this artificial timeline because of the playoff roster, right? Which is what made the Angels do it when they did. They did
Right.
it was a day or two before the playoff rosters had to be set so that teams would pick them up, hoping that they could have Lucas Giolito or Reynaldo Lopez on their playoff roster. So I think there needs to be an adjustment there. I think it's a problem. I don't think that owners and front offices should be able to just, like I said, flip the board over if they're not happy how it went, and then make, this year, I think, like you said, there were some flawed players. But Harrison Bader is, he's not the best hitter in the world, but he is a plus defensive player and could change the race, especially for a team like the Reds who don't really have a good center fielder. Like that's a huge win for them.
Yeah.
And they also got Hunter Renfroe, who's an above average player for free or for just his salary as well. So yeah, I think something needs to happen. I saw somebody, I think it was Paul Himbekides of ESPN. He mentioned that after a certain date, that the team should be on the hook for the money, no matter what, whether they DFA the guy or waiver, whatever they do to him, they're paying that final month of salary. I don't know if that's the right move or not, but I do think something needs to change. And I think that Artie Moreno, we all knew this, but he is just one of the worst owners in baseball. And I'm not surprised that it is his team to kind of abuse the system.
Yeah. Expose a
Right.
potential gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know that this year was like, if it was egregious enough that it will result in a change, but hopefully this is sort of the like, you can it's a canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, if they were able to just drop Renfroe, Giolito, Reynaldo Lopez, Bader, all these names, well, they didn't drop Bader, but all these names that like people know and are impact and they just traded for their run.
Yeah.
And they're able to just be like, here you go, league, chaos abound.
Yeah.
Good luck. You could see it being way more dramatic.
And yes. Yeah. Like what if Artie Moreno and Ohtani got into a fight and Moreno wants to get under the luxury tax threshold and threw Ohtani on the waiver wire? That would, it would be exciting. And from a podcast standpoint, we'd have a ton of
content, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is that good for the game? I don't know. My final point I'll put on this is it kind of just exposes the Angels for how bad of an organization they are. Not only did they give up the last few good prospects they had for about a month and a half or whatever of guys that they ended up just giving away for free on the waiver wire, but because Randall Grichuk did not get his contract picked up, they did not dip below the luxury tax threshold. So it just was an absolute and utter failure from start to finish. And, that's what you get.
I do feel for them a little bit because going for it at the deadline was universally appreciated.
Yes.
Remember, we were all like, hell yeah, Angels, go for it.
Yes.
And it's so good to see them go for it. Even if we don't think it's going to work, like, it's good that they go for it. And then everyone they acquire is bad. and then they cut them all. And now they're getting shit for that too. So it's like, it's a deeper problem because they had to acquire, risky assets because their farm system is so bad. So they couldn't
Right.
truly go for it in a way that would allow them to compete with like the Astros or the Rangers or even the other like wild card teams. So they were hamstrung from the beginning from actually going for it. But they did, which we liked. And now they've
Yeah.
set themselves back by going for it. And then now they're getting shit on for going for it and then dumping. And it's like, it's just, it like you said, it's like what a bad year for the Angels and what a bad organization.
And now the team is screwed. They have Anthony Rendon, albatross contract. Ohtani's not coming back. Mike Trout can't stay healthy. And they're over the luxury tax threshold going into next year. And they are probably going to be the worst team in their division next year after Ohtani leaves. And they have no way to augment their team through trade. And they won't want to spend any more money because they'll already be over the tax threshold. Or they won't be able to spend enough money to make themselves competitive again. So I don't know what they're going to do. And I think this is the first time since Mike Trout has been on the Angels that I thought maybe he won't be an Angel his entire career.
Yeah. There was an article the other day and I didn't really read it. But the headline, as we all participate in the internet, the headline said that Mike Trout intends to have a sit down this offseason with Angels ownership to discuss the long-term plans for the team's future. And so the reality is probably the quickest, the best chance for them to get back to a competitive balance at some point in the relative near future is to trade Mike Trout for an absolute haul.
Yeah,
because he's only getting older, and they're at their current trajectory. Like, what's their window? Like, what is their target window of success right now? 2026, right? And so then by then, Trout's only older, and he's probably going to hit bombs until he's 40, unless he has some sort of like, like knock on wood against this, but like some sort of catastrophic injury. But like, I think he's going to age pretty well as an offensive talent as long as he can be on the field. But like, they're going to lose a couple more years of him before they're really competitive again, if they actually rebuild successfully. So their best bet probably is to trade him this offseason. And hey, maybe that's where the Cardinals come in. Let's let's move the farm for Mike Trout and then go pay for Nola and Snell and Gray.
And if they do trade Mike Trout, then you have to call them stupid for holding on to Ohtani for the time that they have, because if they traded Ohtani a year and a half ago, they would already be their farm system rating would already be much higher than it is right now. Then they go and move on from him. Then they wait out the Rendon contract and you're looking like a better team. But right now, 2026 seems like a joke to me. There's no way that's going to happen.
And this is assuming that these trades are actually for talented players.
Right.
And we have seen very little ability to scout and identify impact baseball players.
Yeah.
I've said this before in the show, but I read somewhere a little while ago, and it really made sense to me, is that Artie Moreno cares about celebrity. And that is how they've ended up with some guys. Like, they knew Ohtani was going to be like celebrity, right? And that one worked for him. But like Rendon, Pujols, Josh Hamilton, all these horrible contracts that they've had, they're just chasing celebrity. They're chasing who's the biggest free agent, and they're not really thinking about long-term and, good roster construction.
Nate, we'll get off the Angels here, but one last thing for you. Who do you think, according to Baseball Reference WAR, is the third most valuable Angel in 2023?
Feels like a trick question. Is it Renfroe?
It is not. This is a tough question.
Luis Rengifo?
No.
Nah, man. I truly don't. Carlos Estevez, their
Mickey
closer.
Moniak.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, and he's crushing it on the Phillies.
No, he's still an Angel.
What am I? Okay. Well, whatever. But
you might be thinking of Brandon Marsh.
Maybe. Yeah, that was part. Okay. Moniak's had an okay year.
He's got 1.9 Baseball Reference WAR.
Hey, there you go.
All right. Anyways, we can move off the Angels, but yeah, I really think they are just absolutely screwed. And hey, Mike Trout to the
Yeah.
Cardinals. Let's go. Let's have a little old man trifecta with him and Nolan and Goldie. Go win a couple of championships. That sounds great.
How
Uh,
many? Yeah.
Speaking of old men and guys that we like, Andrew McCutchen suffers a partial Achilles tear. Will be done for the season. I bring this up just because I love McCutchen, and hopefully he gets back and back with the Pirates next year. But
Yeah.
not great, especially he still runs pretty well. I hope that he can come back and still be talented.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I hope so too.
yeah. Otani's agent finally speaks with the press. He says it is inevitable that Otani will undergo some kind of elbow procedure. He is not committing to Tommy John. He said in an interview that I was listening to the other day on ESPN that they are going to get fourth and fifth opinions on this. And apparently the tear is in a different spot than was his Tommy John a handful of years ago. So I guess it's good to finally hear something from Otani's camp. I love Otani. He's the most exciting thing to watch. He's so good for baseball. His um, inability to speak to the press, or does his lack of desire to speak to the press or the fans, is a little infuriating.
Yeah. Yeah. I always go back and forth on that. Like, part of me feels like you have, as like the star of the game, you have an obligation to like be out there and be a vocal part of the game and
Yeah,
help move it forward. And then in these situations, being a presence. On the flip side, like, you know, that it's a personality type, right? Like,
yeah,
if he really truly hates it, like, do we want him being really grumpy up there and forcing himself into these difficult spots? I was it Marshawn Lynch? I was talking to Molly about this
yeah,
the other day. He was that way, right? When he was like the star of the NFL, he would like refuse all interviews, and like he hated being at the center of attention for this sort of stuff.
right.
And they were able to spin it to where it's like, oh, he's so cool that he doesn't
Yeah,
even do interviews, you know? But it happens sometimes. I don't think it's super common. But baseball has really had a problem where back to back now, you got Mike Trout, whose favorite food is rice and his favorite activity is looking at clouds. And
yes,
then you've got Shohei Otani, who won't speak to the press. Like, can we just only put the camera on Ronald Acuna
right,
and Mookie Betts and just say,
right.
this is the face of baseball? I mean, they're basically the two best players in baseball right now
Yeah,
anyway, but like, I don't know. I feel for Otani a little bit, but I do sometimes think what you're thinking. Like, there's a degree of obligation, if you're
that's kind of
going
where
to
I'm
be.
at. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, moving down. This is sad news, or not sad news, just disappointing news, I guess is the right word. Julio Urias
both.
has been arrested on domestic violence charges. His second charge after an incident that happened in 2019 when he was arrested after reportedly shoving a female companion to the ground. I believe that the police report said corporeal violence to his partner. Seems very likely that he will not pitch the rest of this year. It seems very likely that his career with the Dodgers is done. And I think, not to make this all about baseball, but I don't think we need to get into the how we feel about the domestic violence issue. Obviously, we have no quarter or patience for that.
Yeah,
I think this probably takes him out of the Cardinals' sights. It was reported a couple of
I'm
weeks
sure
ago
it does.
that the Cardinals were targeting him as a potential free agent, and think that's pretty much no chance of that happening after his second offense.
Yeah, I'm sure it does, and I hope it does.
Yeah,
And I do suspect that he will pitch in the major leagues again at some point because that's how this tends to go. But yeah, it's disappointing, and I think he probably shouldn't, but I
yeah.
suspect that he will.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, innocent until proven guilty. We'll learn more, and MLB will do an investigation after the legal investigation is
Yeah.
done. But yeah, I'm sure a large suspension is coming, and what else? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to speak without being fully informed here, but I'm pretty sure this one happened publicly. I think I heard it happened at like the LAFC game. So
What?
like,
How stupid can
yeah,
you be?
if I'm wrong, I'm sorry to the story, but I'm not really sorry to Julio Urias. But from my
Yeah,
understanding is that it was like there will be an investigation, but it
Yeah.
was a public thing. So
Classy.
yeah.
And you hear something like that, not only is it just such a scummy thing to do, but how stupid.
Well, what I always think about with something like this is if this is happening public, imagine
Oh
what's
my
happening
God. Yeah.
private.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So
All right, moving on. Speaking of the Reds and their pitching issues, the Reds have put 4 pitchers on the COVID IL. Hunter Green was put on the list before Friday's doubleheader, then followed by Fernando Cruz, Ben Lively in the bullpen, and Brandon Williamson was added on Saturday. So they are down 4 guys. I think for Cardinals fans, it's a bummer that we'll very likely won't see Hunter Green because of this. But it kind of, it's kind of just salt in the wound. They don't have a great pitching staff. They have 4 guys. They all seem to be healthy. Everything's going to be fine. But they have to go on the mandatory COVID IL
yeah.
until they, test positive or test negative. So,
Well, I mean, whether we want to acknowledge and adjust and admit it or not, COVID's kind of back right now.
Yeah.
So I suspect that this won't be the last of this happening.
Yeah. Lots of fun. And then final piece of news, we brought him up earlier. Ronald Acuna Jr. becomes the first player in MLB history to have 30 home runs and 60 stolen bases. I don't know if you saw, but his 30th home run was the hardest hit ball in the StatCast era. Is like
Yeah.
122.6
It's
miles per
incredible.
hour or something like that. Absolute frozen rope to dead center against the Dodgers. And my question to you, Nathan Heiniger, if you had to vote today, Mookie or Ronald for MVP?
I feel like I'm in a tough spot here, Ben, because I am someone who is a proponent and a believer of advanced metrics. I
Yeah.
talk about WAR all the
Yep.
time. I argue that it is the best metric for determining value.
Yeah.
I won't say it doesn't have flaws. Every metric has flaws, but despite all of that,
And
I
by the
still
way,
feel like I'm voting Ronald Acuna.
Ronald is at 32 home runs and 63 stolen bases right
Yeah.
now.
We're not even done. He
No.
might go 40-80.
Oh my God. He might.
I think I'm still voting Acuna. I'm a sucker for those sorts of things.
Yeah.
I get Betts is having a career year also, which is incredible. Yeah. Betts, I think I could be wrong on this, but I felt like Betts was a Hall of Fame trajectory, but also maybe not.
Yeah.
And then I think now, like I really,
Slam
I
the
think
door shut.
yeah, he's locking it in.
Yeah.
He obviously needs like 5 more years to do it. But if he has this type of season at this age, it really speaks well to what his aging curve is going to look like. Because there was real concerns about him aging as speed inevitably slows down. Is he going to be suddenly like a 25 home run, 5 stolen base guy with, it's like, oh no, he might just evolve into one of the best power hitters in baseball and still be good at everything else too. So it's incredible. I'd probably still voting Acuna. I need to figure out my own internal value system here because that's inconsistent with what I generally believe in. But the stolen base numbers, it's awesome. And I know it's the new rules are helping, but still no one else, only Estieri Ruiz is close to him.
Yeah.
And Estuary, that's the one thing he does. Acuna does everything incredibly.
Yeah.
So
it's incredible. Yeah. I hear everything you're saying, and there's about 25 games left in the season. So I'm gonna hold. I'm not gonna vote yet.
Oh, sure. I have to vote, but you don't have to vote.
Well, but let me make my point right where I am today, while we're recording, is that I think Mookie and Ronald, they're putting up insane numbers, right? And batting average and homers, it's all pretty close. But for me, Mookie being able to pick up the Dodgers when they needed it the most, and for him to play above average second base and shortstop and the best right fielder in baseball while putting up these numbers, I think to me, that makes him the MVP because 60 stolen bases plus is impressive. But a player playing the best right fielder in baseball, also being a league average shortstop, is unheard of. And
It's fair.
I think that can't be underplayed enough, or that can't be underplayed. Now, again, maybe Acuna can go Super Saiyan in this last 20 plus games and change my mind. But as of today, if I had to vote, I would vote for Mookie because of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll leave it there.
It's a fair point. That's an incredible showcase of
It's
versatility.
crazy how
Yeah.
no one can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And Mookie was like, "Oh yeah, I like playing shortstop," and then went off
Yeah.
had like 1,000 OPS during that few weeks or whatever. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
We will.
So, um, all right. Well, let's wrap up this episode.
Yeah.
Got a little game for you, Ben. We haven't done this one for a little while. I was doing some Googling the other day, and I came across an
God, I
article
don't want to hear about your
that
Googling.
I was using your office to Google myself, and I came across another article that I think would be perfect for our segment, League Choose.
Ooh.
League Choose.
Home. Very good.
So I've got an article here from Bleacher Report.
Oh God.
The 10 best ballpark snacks of all time.
All right. Have we not
And so
done this before?
We've done a version of this before, but not exactly this one.
Okay.
So I want to hear what you think. Alex Rostowski's opinion, Bleacher Report writer.
Okay.
The 10 best ballpark snacks of all time. And I will say that his or hers, I guess Alex, their definition of snack is broad.
Oh God. Okay. I am assuming by that you mean like a beer could be on it.
I will give you no more information
Okay.
than snacks is broad.
Okay. So what, I'm supposed to guess it? What am I supposed to do?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you are going to guess on the top 10. I want
All
to see
right.
how many you can get before you run out.
All right. Nachos, number 1 with a bullet. Let's go.
I forgot to put my little sound effects here, so I'm gonna do them myself.
Okay.
Wait, what do I? You're out.
Nachos aren't on the list?
Nachos is not on the list.
Well, I'm already calling horseshit on this list.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously, I'm completely in agreement with you. Nachos are the ideal ballpark snack.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's
Not on the list.
like 100 little snacks in one. You get to, make your little chip.
And there's like nothing better than nacho cheese.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's the best food.
Yeah.
But like there's nothing more satisfying than nacho cheese.
It's shareable. You're having a good time.
Yeah.
You're
looking like a monster when you get to the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say ice cream in a baseball helmet.
So that was the article we did this on before.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, the difference was there was ice cream and then there was ice cream in a baseball hat.
Yes.
There were two different things.
Yes.
No, on this list, you did get this one. This is number 9.
Okay.
And he has it, or they have it as ice cream / lemon chill. So either a lemon chill or an ice cream.
This article is horseshit. Those are two different things. They just happen to be cold.
Mm-hmm.
You might throw a snow cone in there too, dumbass.
Is that your
no. Yeah. Hot dog.
Hot dog number 2.
What? How's that not number 1?
I know.
All right. Let's do Cracker Jack.
I was wondering if you were going to get Cracker Jacks, because I feel like no one since like 1922 has really gotten to Cracker Jacks. But yeah, Cracker Jacks number 5. I think the only reason we even still do it is because they're in that song.
Well, I'll tell you,
people buying Cracker Jacks.
I'm sure the Coors Field isn't the only one that does this, but during the 7th inning stretch, the broadcast booth throws Cracker Jacks out into the stands every game. So it's kind of in my mind there.
I wonder what percent of Cracker Jack sales come from the front offices buying them to throw them into the stands.
Probably a lot.
I do remember. I have a faint memory as a kid of getting Cracker Jacks and there being like toys and stuff.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, let's do what about a salted pretzel with cheese?
You're out.
Really?
Yeah.
What are these idiots eating at ballparks?
Not a salted pretzel with cheese.
Really?
Yeah. You know what's
so I got
really good?
I got
That
2 outs.
cheese. Make sure it's that nacho cheese. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you already
Hell
told
yeah.
me that. You
Hell
freak.
yeah. I mean, I think you can dip just about anything in nacho cheese and you're having a good time.
Yeah. Is this
Birthday cake,
the stand-up that you're working on? Your tight 5 on nacho cheese?
I think they should make the whole thing out of the nacho cheese.
That's good. That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've got 2 strikes.
Hamburger.
You're
whatever. This list is in question. It's going to be like sushi and bolognese and
bolognese is number 1. No, actually, so everything you guessed is perfectly reasonable guesses, and I would expect them to be on here. The list is pretty good though too. So number 10 was cotton candy.
Okay,
reasonable,
acceptable.
Number 9 was ice cream / lemon chill. Number
Stupid,
8 was popcorn.
Acceptable. Okay,
sure, popcorn's good.
Popcorn was on my list.
Number 7 is fries.
Okay,
which I personally love fries. Who doesn't love fries? Dip them in that nacho cheese, if you know what I mean.
Sick bastard.
But I'm never really getting fries at a ballpark, but
No.
I get why they're on there. Number 6, Polish / Italian sausage.
Okay, that's fine. I was going to say brat at some point.
Well, and this is where I think there's some controversy on this list because number 5 is Cracker Jacks, but number 4 is brats. And so he's got Italian and Polish sausage as a separate category to brat. Which I understand they are, but
2 different sausages. But when we're talking about ice cream and lemon chill, it's the same thing. This guy's an idiot.
Number 3, peanuts.
Okay,
fair.
Yep.
Number 2, hot dog.
Sure.
And number 1, you said it, but you did not guess it. Beer. Number 1.
Oh, damn. I guess I thought I just guessed it. But yeah,
no,
that's
you
fair.
Said, not to be pedantic, but you said, so things like beer could be on the list. And I said, I'm not going to say anymore. Let's start the game.
Okay.
And
fair
then,
enough. Well, in my mind, I guess beer, and the rest of the list is total horseshit.
So I'll give you beer because you said it.
Yes.
But you got 4 of 6 wrong.
Good.
So
I wish I got more
wrong.
You
got 4 of 10 correct, 6 wrong.
Yeah.
So,
that was
league. Yeah. If you have a different idea of the rankings of ballpark foods, let us know. If you think there's a significant enough difference between a brat and an Italian sausage or Polish sausage, I want to learn a little bit more. Let me know. Don't make me Google it.
Just as long as it's mustard is on top, it's all kind of the same thing for me. Honestly,
not a mustard.
Brats and hot dogs. I would. That's my category. It'd be tubed meats would be a category.
Yeah. I'm not a mustard man, but I do love a brat. I love a brat.
I'm fired up now.
All right. Well, now I send you back off to the real world. Thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, remember, join the revolution. It's the most important thing you could do in your entire life is join our Patreon. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. And we'll be back next week. We only got a few more weeks of the regular season left. It's crazy. We're wrapping up, but we'll be here every week.
Yeah, and I guess to say, if you're a new listener, we will continue into playoff coverage and off-season coverage, and come along for the ride. We got more baseball.
We're here. Yep. So, thanks, everyone, and until next week, go Cardinals.
See you.